So you ever hear the saying, it's not what you say, but how you say it? Well, in actuality, it's really both. Did you know that words can definitely be weaponized? Happens day in and day out. Joining us now to discuss all things surrounding that is, well, a scholar and author. She recently penned the book, none other than A Scholarly Poetical Science Discourse, which focuses on the impact of language cues, tones that are weaponized. I'm referring to none other than Dr. Ayo Sakai. Good afternoon, ma'am, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Guy Lambert, and I just have to say thank you so much for having me. And I also love sharp cheddar cheese, just so that you can a little pepper jack every now and then, but that sharp cheddar with some apples, love it.
And that's why we love you. So this is just really cool. I got to tell you, I was not really familiar with regard to the whole weaponization, if you will, of words, but you penned this article, or this book, as we like to call it, and it is really raising a lot of eyebrows. And so for folks that are hearing about it for the first time, why is it that you decided to do this, and what are you trying to get across?
Great question. Well, language has always been important, and we've seen actually over the past several election years that words have been weaponized. You know, we see it in politics, we see it in language, we see it in how policies are made and how legislations are made. We see how words based on the legislations have become weaponized in how police brutality come about. And even when we say words do not matter, that you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, we know that that's not true. So what I'm trying to get across is that words are important. We look at this in how everything is done in our everyday life, and it is now a new theory. We talk about oral history. We talk about how linguistic imperialism is used for dog whistle politics. It is very important for us to understand that what we do and what we say legislatively and politically are important. So that's the importance of this work, bringing to the forefront the importance of legacy words and the great scholars who have been poets historically that have used words to talk about historical movements and social movements historically. So we need to pay more attention to that. And that's the mission of Poetical Science Discourse.
Dr. Sakai, you just touched on something that I harp on time and time again, and that is words are important. I cannot tell you how many times I have said that. And if you really think about it, every word that comes out of your mouth has a meaning and has value. Why do you think we live in a society now where words really don't matter? We just overlook certain words and say to heck with it?
Oh, well, I don't think we so much overlook it. I think a lot of us know that words are powerful. If you, as a political scientist, if you look at how legislations are written, how politics is done, we know that using specific words in specific ways, we can have a desired impact. For instance, even this media discourse, we know that when we talk to each other, by using the correct words, we can inspire emotions, we can make people angry, we can make people happy. Therapists use it all the time. Even in poetry, when we go out and we speak and we talk about elevation and uplifting, we use words to empower and we use words to destroy. I don't think we actually say what the heck with words. I think people do realize the power of words and they use it strategically. What is important right now is for us to realize that we can use words to better our community, to stand firmer together, to be stronger together, and to uplift our world so we become a better people in a better place. That's what's important right now.
Point proven. I'm just reflecting back to that sharp cheddar cheese comment, which really made me smile. So case in point right there. One of the things that you explore in this book is not only black hair, police brutality, but women's rights as well. Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. One of the poems that I wrote called All Women, and if you have a few minutes, I can actually read a couple bits for you.
Please.
But, oh, really? Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So in All Women, let me find it right here for you. In All Women, I really talk about, you know, the significance of womanhood and how we appear in history. So let me find this All Woman. page 17.
Once
here.
again, guys, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Dr. Ayo Sakai. Of course, she just penned the book, none other than A Scholarly Poetical Science Discourse, which focuses on the impact of language cues, tones that are weaponized. And with that, I give you the floor yet again, ma'am.
Okay, yes, and I'm a little bit nervous, so I'm having problems finding the poem right now. But in talking about women's rights, when we talk about all women in this particular poem, we're talking about the expectations of womanhood. You know how we're expected to be tall, thin, beautiful, well-spoken, eloquent. We're supposed to hold down a job, and we're supposed to raise the children all at once, be barefoot and pregnant, and still take care of home. And historically, we know that women's rights, we've fought through women's suffrage, and right now we're dealing with the dismantling of women's abortion rights. We're talking about politics and policies that are going inside women's private rooms with their OBGYN. That shouldn't be happening. So women's rights are very important, including our hair, how we approach ourselves, and historically all of these things have mattered, and they still matter today. And what we thought was a right that was already far fought and won, we're now reversing the tides, and we're seeing so much upheaval of not just women's rights, but how we address a lot of social issues. Tomorrow is Juneteenth. We're talking about civil rights. We're talking about so much that has already happened that is being dismantled, including the banning of Black books. So we really need to pay attention to how these things are manifesting. Otherwise, we can find ourselves really back in 1945.
Wow, very well said. Once again, Dr. Ayo Sakai, the name of the book, A Scholarly Poetical Science Discourse. Real quick, Dr. Sakai, I read, and this is what I do for a living. I really had to think with regard to pronouncing that correctly. And I'm wondering, before I let you go, did you purposely do that? Is that something that you wanted us to think about as we read the title?
Yes, absolutely. And that is such a great question. You know, of course, A squared is dealing with mathematics. One of the things that we don't understand, or a lot of us don't think about, is everything was created back in Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization. So A squared is mathematical, a scholarly poetical science discourse. Poetical science is something that I created because I'm a poet. I love words. I love how they feel, but I'm also a political scientist. And there are some poems that are just not poetical science. So in this book, I broke down the difference between what is poetical science and what is just poetry, loving words, loving how they feel, but what actually navigate, integrate, and, dismantle or intersect with society as we live in it and how it governs us. So yes, I definitely wanted us to think about what poetical science means, what it is, and as a doctor and as a scholar, that is important in interrogating resource and talking to other scholars and to you, the media, our community, the people who live every day in our everyday lives that are impacted by the things that we don't think about so much. So poetical science discourse is really just to bridge that gap between the layman and the scholar, between the media and everyone else that love words, that love people, that love humanity. So thank you for that question. I love it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, in that case, job well done. Seriously. Once again, we have been speaking with Dr. Ayo Sakai. She penned the book, none other, A Scholarly Poetical Science Discourse. Of course, you can pick it up, not now, but right now. Dr. Sakai, truly appreciate you coming on the show. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much for having me. And I do have a signed copy for you. So let me know when I can drop it off.
Sounds good, ma'am. Have an amazing day. Once again, Dr. Sakai joining us right here on the Live Zone. We'll take a quick break and be right back.